Vikings Rant. This is Nathan Schulte.
And I'm Dirk Umbenhauer.
And we're very excited to be with you after what was another Vikings victory.
Yeah, and I can't say I'm not surprised by this one. We all saw it coming.
I mean, especially me calling the blowout as I did and really making you all look like a bunch of fools as you called such close games.
Yes, that's the reason why Isaac is not here with us tonight. He was so ashamed of that he couldn't come.
Yeah, Isaac, again, will not be here tonight. He will not be here to share his nice words, but we send nice words maybe. I don't know. We might just skip it tonight. This might be kind of a negative broadcast because Isaac's not here to mellow us out. But you know what? I think it will be less negative because we had a really, really good game, a game in which we saw the return and the finale of Nathan's calls for Teddy Bridgewater to return as the starter.
Yeah, Nathan, you made the calls for so long about Teddy Bridgewater, finally gets a chance. What a great moment, Teddy Bridgewater going into the game, final fourth quarter, when we were up 34-0.
Not even close.
Not even close. It was a great
over at halftime, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. We could have put him in at halftime and still won by like 20-some points.
Actually, probably would have won by more.
But Nathan, then Teddy throws an interception. So your calls all season.
You know what? It was just kind of weird, though, because when you're not preparing to start and they just kind of throw you in at the end, and he was nervous. It was such a big moment for him actually getting to call a play. It was just such a small victory. And when he inevitably starts for the Chicago game after the Carolina Panthers lose to the Buccaneers this week, we will see truly a much, much better version of Teddy Bridgewater, I have to believe.
Buccaneers beating the Panthers is a very bold prediction.
Nah, I don't know, because they put up a solid fight against the Falcons, who are a better team.
That's true, but that was at Raymond James Stadium, and I don't think – then again, this game could be Raymond James. I have no idea.
I would be shocked if it's not, because that would mean the Panthers have 3 home games in a row. That's kind of stupid.
Yeah, that would be stupid, but as we've seen before with the NFL scheduling, stupid is its middle name.
Speciality.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Well, we had a very good game. Case Keenum threw the ball very well. He was 20 for 23, right?
20 for 23. Let me pull up the stats.
Those 2 passes Teddy Bridgewater threw and completed them, he would have tied Brett Favre's all-time passing percentage record for a single game. So that's pretty impressive.
Really? I did not know that.
And Jerick McKinnon had a big day, receiving especially, not too big of a game rushing, but it just seemed like they neglected to cover him. And so he had a big game.
Yeah, Jerick McKinnon, over 100 yards receiving. He was our leading receiver on a day where Adam Thielen only had about 30 and Stephon Diggs only had about 35 with that touchdown grab. Because Jerick McKinnon was this is how bad the Bengals are. Jerick McKinnon just was coming out of the backfield the whole time, and nobody decided to cover him pretty much the whole game. So we were like, well, we should take advantage. And we did. I
mean, there was that one 20-yard pass where he was standing in the backfield and literally everyone left. I was like, where'd you go? No one knows.
Yeah, there was that one. There was another swing out for a big gain. The one I'm thinking of is the one that we had been stagnant on a couple offensive drives. There's only one thing I would complain about. We shot ourselves in the foot a bunch with penalties. But
yeah,
there was
bad.
It very much could have been 54-7.
Two, and it was a little disappointing. And here's the difference. Okay, so that Bengals win was the Vikings version of a blowout. And so what you're seeing is when the Vikings blow a team out, they take their foot off the throttle. Once the game is over, they take their foot off the throttle. They play sound defense so that they can't score a ton of points, and they get their players rest, which is what they need to do. And we were seeing earlier in the season, the Eagles and the Rams, they were putting up 50 points, and the other team had only scored less than 20. That's just not smart. You need to hold back. That's like me in Madden when I'm destroying a guy. I just keep going. I'm not going to hold back. I'm playing Madden. And that's basically what they were doing. You had to show restraint. But they're not a good playoff team probably, and neither are the Vikings. It's all the Saints, right, Dirk?
Well, that's true, Nathan. Apparently it's all the Saints.
That's what the national media would have you believe. Because of Drew Brees,
Yeah, well, we'll complain about that in a little bit. But first off, let's get our game summary done, and then we can complain about many things.
I'm going to complain off and on. I'm very inconsistent.
Okay, that's fair. You do you.
Anyway,
So, yeah, McKinnon had the big day. There wasn't really anyone who stood out offensively today.
What about Eric
On
Kendricks?
Sunday. Well, the defensive side, there was a lot.
Well, I don't know. He had some great offense. 35. I mean, he was leading the Bengals in offense for, I think,
a quarter.
2/3 of the first half.
Yeah, that was just a dominating defensive performance. Should have had the shutout. We didn't. But
I mean, what can you do? I mean, shutout really does nothing for you. So I'm glad that they took Xavier Rhodes, who, for the first time ever, did not have to go out on the sideline with an injury mid-game. I mean, he just kind of naturally came out. So hopefully he's getting healthy ahead of the playoffs. That would be good. And for the most part, our offensive line was completely back with the exception of Riley Reif, who is getting better and better every week. And the surprise was Kyle Rudolph was able to play.
Yes. And that was big, Nathan, because as being in a fantasy football championship game by 2 points, Kyle Rudolph coming in for that one play late in the game, because we'd rested him for a while, obviously, because we knew he was hurt and we didn't want to bang him up with such a big lead. He came in, caught the 1 yard touchdown, won me my fantasy football league. Couldn't be happy.
Jeez. And what I read online was that he, in fact, I think he said he just went running onto the field because he knew the play and he knew he was going to get a touchdown. So he went running on the field to get the touchdown.
Yeah, Cincinnati native. So I think he felt he wanted to get that one.
Yeah. Well, overall, he had a big game, though. I mean, he had that touchdown. He had quite a few passing yards. He was pretty key on a few plays, so it was good to have him
Rudolph
back.
had 2 for 17.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. And It was good to have him back, and good to see that he's healthy enough to play, and certainly he'll be fine next week, even better, in fact.
I was thinking that more about Remmers, actually. But defensive side of the ball, I mean, Kendricks is picked. What an awful throw. I didn't know how – I thought this game was going to be a blowout, but I did not know it until the Eric Kendricks pick six.
That was huge. And, we've been calling for a pick six, or more specifically, I have been calling for a pick six all season. And finally it comes. And at the hands of Eric Kendricks, no less. It's kind of what he's becoming known for. He's intercepted 2 balls in the NFL and returned both for touchdowns. So
yes,
he's truly one of the best middle linebackers in the NFL. And though we know he still does not get credit for being that, because he's kind of still a no name and kind of under the shadow of Anthony Barr, he seriously is becoming one of the best middle linebackers in the NFL.
Yeah, he really is. He's a leading tackler on the Vikings. I think he was more deserving of the Pro Bowl than Barr, personally.
There's some tackles in the beginning of the season. We cannot deny that, as we complained about it many times on the show.
That's true. That's true. But Kendricks, right thing, jump in front of the pass, head towards the sidelines, find the opening, get clear, and it was just a great play and an all-around great day for the defense. I mean, there was no defensive back letdowns. A.J. Green basically shut down. Only had about 2 catches, I believe.
And we thought he had 1, but Xavier Rhodes had driven him so far out of bounds that it wasn't even a catch.
Oh, yes, that is true. To be exact,
Terrence Newman also weird pick on the day. I mean, one that actually really probably could have been easy because he read it perfectly, but he fumbles with the ball and ends up catching it between his legs.
That was a very much more athletic catch than Eric Kendricks, actually. Because here's Newman. He's 40 years old, but his speed on that looked like he was 25. And he just runs in front of the ball.
He has not looked like that with speed too much this season.
And picks it off and bobbling it. It was a great play. We also had a big 4th down stop. And Nathan, we took advantage of the Bengals, who I had pretty much known they had quit. I had predicted that. And then right before the game, they get their head coach saying, hey, I'm not going to be here next season. And one reporter described it as the Bengals sideline after it was 14-0 looked like they had already lost the game. They knew it was over. They had no fight left in them, and we clearly took advantage.
And you know what? One big thing we forgot to mention, we won the NFC North.
Yes, we are.
Over the game. Could have been last week against the Panthers, which pretty much would have secured us our first-round bye as well. Unfortunately, we dropped that game. It was good, I think, to get us refocused. Mike Zimmer has admitted it a few times now in his press conferences that it did help get them refocused. They're not quite as I don't want to use the word cocky, but that's kind of what it was around the locker room anymore. So I guess there's no such thing as a good loss, but it was an opportunistic loss that we can take advantage of.
Yes, and now we are NFC North champions for the second time in 3 seasons.
And 2 out of the 4 seasons Mike Zimmer has been here, though. Really, can you count the first one? I mean, he's building the team, so I'd say 2 out of 3 that they've.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. So we got that now. We are 11-3 in the season. We have secured the first ever playoff game at US Bank Stadium, which we hope to be 2 or 3 more we play in, depending on our final seating.
And
and we now have T-shirts that I will spend money on if we don't go to the Super Bowl.
We don't need to talk about that. We're going to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And the first round has actually been kind of a little bit of a curse for a few people over the last years. If you're the first person in the top of the draft or the top of the playoff order. So even if the Philadelphia Eagles do hold on to that, which there's a chance they don't, because they're without Carson Wentz and they have 2 decent teams coming up. So they could easily lose these next 2 games, which would put us in the number 1 seed if indeed the Vikings can pull out these next 2 games, which I believe they will. And so it's pretty possible that it does happen. But even if it doesn't, I don't think the Eagles will win their first playoff game. So there's still a very strong chance that both games are at US Bank Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles, if they get the number 1 seed, I don't think they get past that first round. I think the NFC is top to bottom far deeper than the AFC. Any team you could make the argument for the Super Bowl, maybe, with the exception of Atlanta, I think, this year. But even then, you could say experience.
Maybe Carolina, I don't know.
You could say experience, and I'd say
the Rams definitely. I think they're going to fall off hard in the playoffs. I don't think they'll make it past the divisional or the wild card weekend.
Yeah, I could see that too. I could definitely see the Rams losing. I think just in terms of the Eagles, you barely beat the New York Giants last week with Nick Foles. Your defense is starting to struggle. Foles isn't going to face a great defense until the playoffs, and when he does, he's probably going to be a little, what do I call it?
Get wrecked, maybe.
A little get wrecked, yes.
Terrible.
Yeah, and I think the Eagles will lose that one by about 10 points. And
I think they'll get creamed, and I think it'll be funny to watch, and I am planning on watching every minute of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for too. So, as we mentioned, NFC North champions.
Wait, we forgot to talk about one thing.
Oh, is this the greatest moment of the weekend?
The Packers got eliminated from the playoffs after weeks of Packers fans say, "Woo! For Aaron Rodgers, he's coming." Yeah, he came. And
back to the IR.
In the process. And now we get to face an Aaron Rodgers-less Packers, which we thought we probably would. And they got eliminated, and it's just the best thing ever. Grant, Carolina is still right on our butts because they beat the Packers, but I don't care. Because
I don't care either. It was a great Panthers. It was a great Panthers victory. I didn't watch any second of the game because I was too busy watching the Vikings game, obviously.
I mean, granted, sad for the Panthers that they kept it that close because Aaron Rodgers didn't play well. And the Packers are a bad team. So sad for the Panthers that they kept it that close. But good that they pull it out.
3 interceptions, Nathan, which backs up what we've been saying for weeks, that Rodgers will be super rusty coming off of the injury. And his collarbone was not even 100% going into that game, as reported. I
don't know, honestly, what they were thinking. I hope it never heals right again because, seriously, who cares about your dumb record? You're not making the playoffs this year, nor are you making a deep run in the playoffs, even if he does come back.
Well, that's why Rodgers is back on IR, which is
I know, but why would you even risk that? You can take an L one season. You could say Aaron Rodgers got hurt. We didn't have a good backup. We're going to take an L this season. That's a thing you can do. And why would you risk it? I mean, I know
because an organization is dumb.
Well, they are, and they got what they deserved.
Yeah. I mean, Rodgers is throwing 3 picks. He's underthrowing and overthrowing people. But the moment where I had me scared, I was following it online after the Vikings game ended, and there was a moment where the Packers scored, and then they recovered an onside kick. And I'm like, Jesus, are they actually going to pull this out again?
And then someone, I think, dropped the ball, and it was just awesome.
At that point, I was preparing myself to be not happy. But then Geronimo Allison fumbles the ball at about the Carolinas' 25-yard line. The Panthers recover, and all of a sudden the clouds that were over my house cleared and showed a bright, beautiful sunlight of the beautiful day it was because the Green Bay Packers were basically eliminated.
And Dirk, you talk about how the Panthers almost screwed the pooch. Let's talk about getting screwed for a little bit. Let's talk about the Pro Bowl.
Yes, I mean, The Pro Bowl ballot
you want to talk about how underappreciated the Vikings are. Look at the Pro Bowl this year. We got completely screwed. And I do not know how this happened. I mean, you want to talk about numero uno, prime time, front and center, the one where we really got screwed that everyone's talking about, Harrison Smith. How on earth? He's having arguably the best year of his career, 1.5 sacks, 3 picks, and he is the leader of like the best defense in the NFL. How does this man not make it? I mean, they literally just went with the legacy guy. This guy was leading fan voting weeks ago. How did this happen, Dirk?
Well, I don't know, Nathan, but it clearly seems to be Seahawks fans stuffed the ballot box for the only healthy defensive back they had left, and that is called Earl Thomas. As you mentioned, Harrison Smith, best season of his career right now. He's got 1.5 sacks, but he's got a ton more pressure than that on safety blitzes, 3 picks, numerous numbers of tackles, and Xavier Rhodes even said Xavier Rhodes named to the Pro Bowl, by the way, again, well-deserving.
Well, I mean,
Smith runs that defense.
I would have been really mad if that hadn't happened.
Oh, gosh. But yeah, Harrison Smith, that is probably the biggest snub. I wouldn't just say mad about Vikings fans. I'd say if you're the typical NFL fan, that is the biggest snub across the board.
I mean, seriously, you're talking about a guy who was in the discussion for the Defensive Player of the Year, and should he win that award, you want to talk about the Pro Bowl looking stupid and not like it matters, because that seriously will knock it down a few pegs. If the Defensive Player of the Year did not make the Pro Bowl, that will call into question this whole process, because it is ridiculous that he did not make it. He's having a way better season than Earl Thomas. Certainly much, much, much better than those other 2 Yahoo safeties they got from like the Giants and some other crap team.
Yeah, Landon Collins, good safety, but Malcolm Jenkins has not really been an amazing Pro Bowl safety for 3-4 years. I mean, there's just some weird picks in this, Nathan. I mean, there's a ton of Eagles. There's a ton of Eagles.
I think it was 6, right?
Yes, including, let's see here. The Eagles, okay, there was Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson, deserving. We should mention the other Vikings made the Pro Bowl, Adam Thielen, Anthony Barr, and
we don't want to talk about who makes it. Who cares about that?
Everson Griffin. Congratulations. Yes, we are all mad at the fact here.
To them, but seriously, I'm mad because let me name off the 4 people that I think definitely should have made it. I think we should have had 8. We definitely should have had 8. I think we deserved it. I mean, you're talking about the top 5 defense and top 5 offense in the NFL, and you literally only have 4 guys in it from that team. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many more on offense I would do.
Linval Joseph, how? He literally has led us to be the best run defense in the NFL. Himself. Did you see that hit on the Redskin player a few weeks ago? What was it, Thompson?
Oh, yeah.
That man is an animal. And the fact that he didn't make the Pro Bowl, just an abomination. Really making him look stupid.
Linval Joseph is leading the run defense for the best one of the best run defenses in the NFL. And he's also a great leader and he's a good pass rusher for his size, too. And he's got a few sacks this year.
You talked about Eric Kendricks, too. He probably he should have at least been considered. I'm not saying, I know people don't get him yet, so maybe we can't say him quite yet. But
Kendricks is a little shakier. I agree with you that I think he should have been in it, but I think Kendricks is a little bit more of a shaky one on whether.
And Pat Elflein. How's Pat? I'm just kidding. Pat Elflein has been having a good year, but he's still a rookie, and I don't think by any means he's a star at center quite yet.
Yeah. What about Kai Forbath?
No. Bad.
You hear the news today that the Rams kicker is on injured reserve? Rams kicker is on it.
That's good to hear, Dirk. So the other 2 guys that I really was disappointed not to see, Case Keenum. I mean, they put in Drew Brees. Like, give me a break. You just did that because it's Drew Brees. He's not even having a good year.
Yeah, I know. They put in both of his running backs deservingly, but it's kind of like, no, I don't think Brees gets it.
I definitely think Case Keenum he's having a Pro Bowl year. And Kyle Rudolph, he should have gotten it last year. That was really bad. 7 touchdowns. I think he was up to 800 yards last year for a tight end. Are you kidding me? And then this year he has 8 touchdowns already. And I think upwards of 500 yards, maybe approaching 600. So, I don't get it.
Yeah, you could make the argument. I mean, Rudolph versus Graham is Jimmy Graham, the Seahawks tight end, is a very good argument. I think Zach Ertz was top vote getter tight end. I would say Zach Ertz has been the tight end, so I don't disagree with him being in there.
I think Zach Ertz deserves it. I don't see Jimmy Graham. I'm looking at his stats right now. He has 9 touchdown catches for 472 yards. What he basically is a big red zone target, and that's about it.
Yeah, Rudolph at least has done stuff outside of the red zone. Now Rudolph gets a lot of production in the red zone, but he's done stuff outside of it.
Yeah, I don't like the Pro Bowl this year. Last year I was okay with it, but I mean we're gonna make the Super Bowl this year, and so we're not going to get those extra Pro Bowlers. So literally, this means that the season that we went 13-3, we had less Pro Bowlers than the season we went 8-8.
Yeah, nothing makes sense here.
That does not compute. Does not compute.
I mean, this is going to happen when you're Fox and you decide to put the Bears-Lions game on.
So many confusing decisions this year.
Instead of the Vikings-Rams game. I mean, come on.
The Vikings, they're just not going to get respect until they win the Super Bowl. It's just the fact of life.
Very true. And now we need to focus on the next game, on our process to the Super Bowl, which is versus a team that has gotten way too much respect in life, the Green Bay Packers.
The Green Bay Packers, well, Dirk, you could call it a trap game, but needless to say, this should be an easy win for the Vikings. This is going to be a team that just didn't make the playoffs for the first time. They don't know how to deal with that. They're going to be in shambles. They're without their number one receiver, Devontae Adams, who has caught 10 touchdowns this year. And
a big loss.
Seriously, they're a piping hot mess. I think their secondary has lost another guy. I mean, if we don't torch these guys, I don't know what's happening, and I am honestly going to be nervous because on paper this should just be an easy win, and I know that the team is going to take it seriously. They're not going to consider it an easy win. They're going to come in ready to go, and it could be Bengals part 2.
It could very well.
As could be the Bears game.
It could very well be, Nathan. I mean, at this point, if you're Green Bay, and I've heard this from Packer fans this week, is that they've said we might as well just tank, and that might be what happened. What happened? Aaron Rodgers put back on IR, as we mentioned, so it will be Brett Hundley.
Brett Hundley ready to take on a Zimmer defense? I don't think so.
No, I don't
think so.
The only boost he gets is a slight boost because of the Lambeau crowd, but as we've seen against other top teams like the Ravens and the Lions, who are not even top teams, they're just better than 500, that hasn't helped much.
And you know what? It's going to be a very cold and windy day. Brett Hundley's still a new quarterback, not very good in weather. I mean, he came from UCLA, right? So that's also an X factor too, I'd say, in Keenum, because this is going to be the most game Keenum has ever played. But the thing is, Keenum is a little bit more experienced, and I think he'll make some better decisions in this cold weather than Brett Hundley. I think Brett Hundley could have potentially sailed some balls to the Vikings players. Maybe Xavier Rhodes gets his 4th pick of the year.
Yeah, no,
Harrison
3rd pick.
Smith gets his 4th.
But he could get 2. But I think Hundley, awful performance against us last time out. And while he has matured some into that starting role a little bit since then, he just hasn't improved that much. And he threw for 85 yards against Tampa Bay. And he's going to have to throw for a lot. And if he throws for 85 yards again, I know they have a better running attack now, but against our run defense, if everything goes like it should, 85 yards is going to mean the Packers get shut out and lose by 40. So
people are kind of saying, "Oh, but watch out, the Packers they might make this a game." And to them, I say, went to overtime against the Buccaneers and the Browns. Please stop talking.
Yes, with the exact same team that'll be out on the field.
If not a worse version of the team because they're without their number one receiver.
It would have been different if Aaron Rodgers was playing. If Aaron Rodgers was playing in this game, I would say, yes, I could see it being close. But Aaron Rodgers is not playing in this football game.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close. Dirk, bold prediction, record score prediction.
Bold prediction, I would say let's go along the lines of Case Keenum. No. Latavius Murray runs for 3 touchdowns.
Wow. Very bold.
And the final score will be Minnesota 38, Green Bay 14.
I could see the rushing because I think it's going to be a big running day with that cold weather.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a hard one. Bold prediction.
This isn't hard.
I think.
Oh, bold prediction. Okay.
Bold prediction, man.
Okay.
I think Kai Forbath absolutely shanks 2 field goals into the wind, but Case Keenum somehow sails 4 touchdowns into the end zone. So that's
Beautiful
my
poetry.
prediction. My score prediction, I think 35-14.
Oh, it's about even with mine. Interesting.
All right. Well, that's about all we have for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry for a little bit shorter episode, but so much going on.
Did we do a Star Wars review quickly or no?
Oh, we can talk quickly about Star Wars. Overall, I think it's a movie that will be best enjoyed after watching the next movie, personally, because I felt like there was a lot of loose ends.
Yeah,
Nathan, a lot of confusing plot holes that didn't really quite make sense at the time and still do not make sense, but may make sense in the future.
Yeah, I'd say we're no spoilers here because we're not those guys. It's only a week after Get Out, but I would say there are definitely plot holes, as Nathan said. I've come to accept a couple of them, but I think a couple we're going to figure out more in the next movie. But overall, I would say there were some moments of lull time, and there were some moments of, now, why the heck did that have to be in the film?
Very long movie. Very long.
Yes, and there were some moments where I was like, well, why does that have to be in there? But there are a lot of very awesome dialogue, awesome action scene, and I think they developed a lot of characters, including some of the new ones. Well,
I would say I kind of wish there was a little bit more lightsabers in the movie.
Yes, it was very, not a ton of lightsaber-ish, but
it was very plot heavy.
Yes, very plot heavy, but there were a lot of good twists. There were a lot of twists and turns that kept me interested, invested into the movie. As a Star Wars fan, I think I would rate this at about 7 out of 10.
And people talk about how bad they didn't like the prequels or whatever, but personally, I would say the prequels did not have as many plot holes as this movie did. But I could be wrong. Thank you all for tuning in.
What would your final rating be?
Oh, my final rating for the movie? 6.5 out of 10.
Okay, that's fair.
Yes. Anyways, thanks for listening. Sorry for the shorter episode again this week, but we hope you still enjoyed it. It was short and sweet. We talked about all the headlines. I mean, we weren't going to have anything to talk about because that game was such a distraction, but then the Pro Bowl came out, and we had plenty to talk about.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's
and the Packers missed the playoffs, so we had plenty to celebrate.
That's true. That gave us all our talking points right there. All right. So hopefully a good game against the Green Bay Packers coming up. Thank you all for listening. I'm Nathan Schulte.
I'm Dirk Ummenhauer.
And we'll see you next week.